To help chart the deep connections between UFOs, non-human intelligence, consciousness, and the broader realm of being, this is Neon Galactic. I'm James Falk. Thanks for joining us. Somehow, in a deep and fundamental way, the spark of an unidentified flying object careening across the sky ignites a need for gnosis. The theatrics of visitation, whatever they actually represent, often kick off an alchemical process of transformation within the witness, propelling them into a profound pursuit to get beyond appearances and confront ground-level truth. The same is true for near-death experiences, entity encounters, psychedelic trips, and all the other modalities of contact. How do these experiences intersect, and what do they say about the human mind, about the universe? What are they telling us? Our guest today, Alan Steinfeld, has been an explorer in these spaces for decades, merging the UFO conversation with the exploration of consciousness, the profundities of spiritual connection, psi phenomenon, healing, and more. His New York-based show New Realities is a clearinghouse for radical ontological ideas and fresh thinking, and has since become a popular YouTube channel. He's written a book, Making Contact, still available on Amazon, and for years was the MC of the largest UFO conference in the world, Contact in the Desert. He's interviewed a long list of visionary thinkers, including Deepak Chopra, Ram Dass, and Marianne Williamson, among countless other UFO experts and experiencers, plying the frontiers of metaphysicality and deep human potential. We'll cover his own journey, the insights he's collected along the way, explore how consciousness and the alien intersect, then discuss his opinion on where we're at in the long-running pursuit for transparency and disclosure. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Great. That is a great introduction. I'm going to copy that. That's really great. Good work. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate having you on the show. I know that you have a lot of perspective and a lot of experience researching these topics, and so it's important for me to sometimes try and check in with folks who are grounded in a lot of years to kind of think about these things, because it's easy to get turned aside, I think, onto sort of less important aspects of the conversation. But yeah, let's start with sort of how you got into weirdness generally. And I mean, obviously, I think that led into your show, but let's talk about your story and what your origination path was through into this stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that, because that is a really good way to for me to like kind of retrace my steps up to the present moment. So weirdness was always a part of my life, not in what people are calling weird now. I just felt different than my family, very nice people, very normal, very middle class, middle American. My father worked hard. My mother was a stay at home, mother of three children in the suburbs of New York. And but my father, after he kind of grew up on welfare during the Depression, didn't have any money, worked really hard, and reached a place where, like, okay, he felt good. We had a house in the suburbs, and he started to explore meditation, different modalities, psychotherapy, group therapy, all this in the 60s. And, he was an explorer of consciousness in a way. He still kept his day job, which I haven't done, but he still went out and explored other possibilities, because obviously the just financial security was only a kind of a ground level input into the world that he needed to establish for himself and his family. He was a Taurus, and he needed that base. But I felt like, oh, this part, I don't want to go out and do a job and work in an office and sit behind a desk or in a cubicle. This exploration that my father was doing with Zazen meditation and different other what that was really fascinating to me. I didn't know how I would make money at that or do any of that, but as I went to college for psychology, because I thought, oh well, maybe that's telling me a little bit more about these other pursuits and minds and philosophies. But you know what? It was incredibly boring psychology, statistics and studies and this. And then when I took one literature course, I realized, wow, these writers know more about the human mind than all these psychologists that I was studying. There are probably
Mhm.
some. So when I got into literature as a major, I realized that that was really about conscious investigations. How did people think about reality? And each of these great novels and stories were different universe into awareness and perception. And I
Yeah.
started to become fascinated with how people see the world. What is their worldview? What is their perception of reality? And how can two people, even in the same religion, have two totally different ways of seeing reality? So I wanted to understand, what is reality anyway? And after college, I came back to New York and did a lot of photography where I would go against that physics term. You can't have two things at the same place at the same time. Well, I started to meld images together and do a lot of double exposures or triple exposures. And I say, well, look, there are two things in the same place at the same time, which they say is impossible. So that was like a doorway, a portal opening to the idea of multidimensionality. And I captured that in my photography, which I started to call New Realities. And then, it was kind of the beginning of what was called the New Age in the 80s. So it was very old age by the end of the 80s. But there was this new thought, a lot of workshops, a lot of channeling. Like no one knew what channeling was in the beginning of the 1980s. I mean, I thought it was weird. I saw this bleach blonde housewife from Tacoma, Washington, channeled this 35,000-year-old warrior from Atlantis. That's pretty weird. I mean, I had no place to put that. I had no place to put that like story in, even though I was a little out there and, a little, I was more into the arts and avant-garde. I said, wow, this is such an avant-garde concept, to be channeling these beings from other dimensions. But when I went to see this channel being, I have to say I had the experience that changed my life. It's like, okay, I'm going to check out this woman, and maybe she's psychotic, maybe she's acting, or maybe possibly, I don't think so, but possibly, perhaps there is this thing that she says going on.
Mhm.
And so I was there in the audience, and she's channeling this being. The being says to me, "What say you, beloved entity? How be you the stay in your time?" And it was like listening to like a living Shakespeare monologue or something. It was like very otherworldly.
Mhm.
And then I sort of to have this like out of body type of awareness that happened. It's like the room sort of melted, things got a little fuzzy. It was like another part of my consciousness was awakened, I have to say, or turned on perhaps.
Hmm.
And I knew at that point that who I was more than just the body. I knew that there was more to reality. So that set me on a huge uh, journey, which I'm still on, to discover what is this thing that we are. I mean, one of the things this channel says, everybody wants to know about who's coming through that body. Well, who's coming through your body, James? Where's the source of that energy, that voice, that intelligence? Where's the source of that? Well, we don't know. That's the big question. But that's whatever the source of that is, that's who we are. So the mystery remains. Some answers have been discovered, but the excitement is the journey, not
Yeah.
necessarily a destination, because there is no destination. It's just where it's like one lifetime of journeys to. And now that we learn a lot, we have a lot of experiences, we, interact with people, but the journey of incarnation is pretty exciting, because to have the divine essence embodied and being aware of its multidimensional consciousness, um, you can sort of maybe navigate a little better in the 3D world or be more aware. I mean, I'm always trying to gain more awareness. So
Yeah.
it's kind of opens you to the mystery, I have to say. I was open to the mystery. And once that door opens and you walk through it, it closes behind you and like, all right, I guess there's no not see can't not see what you just saw or experience what you just experienced. So yeah, if that answers your question, that was sort of my awakening.
Mm. I love it. You know, it's interesting for myself. I had closed that door for a long time just as a, you know,
Mhm.
matter of form because it was impossible. You know, the reality was physical, and I'd been deluded, I felt like, by early religious teachings from my family, where I thought I had associated the spiritual with this kind of concrete, very judgmental reality, regimented thinking, and lack of creativity. And
Mhm.
you know, sort of a villainizing of all the natural impulses is how I saw the church. So I
Mhm.
wanted to reject all that, and I kind of lumped it all together. But then that left a void in my life that I, you know, wasn't really even aware of until a certain point when I began to kind of confront some of this stuff and realized that by opening those windows, I felt a much broader engagement with the universe, and not over any particular truth, just the journey of entertaining these ideas and realizing that what humanity actually knows is very little, and there's absolutely magic and synchronicity and a deeper layer to how things you know, imbibe on a subtle level that just has totally changed my life and started the show and all of that. And, you know, people hear these conversations and they hear things like, you know, an Atlantean who's 35,000 years old and they want to roll their eyes. And, you know, it's not so much for me what the details are of any particular person's experience. There's a power in the expression of that, and I'm maybe it's theatrics on the parts of these intelligences to make them seem sort of ridiculous, whatever it is, but there is energy and power coming through that, and you can tell when you have a few moments where, like, you know, your path will light up with synchronicities if certain, you know, quests are followed, and it's overwhelming if you're open to it. And so things that I would have dismissed as absolutely egregiously made up are hints along the path that show something much deeper than I've ever would have given it credit before. So I'm right there with you, and I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, thanks for that kind of summation of your process because what's obvious is there's a mystery, right? And science and religion try to say, oh, they have the answers, but a little bit of looking at either one of them is like, there are no answers there. The answer, there is no answer in general. It's the mystery that we're a part of, and that's what makes it so exciting. Why waste? I mean, it's okay looking for answers because you get a little further along and get a little more aware, but ultimately, the we are the mystery. It's like if we accept that and and recognize that in everyone actually, then I think we can come to peace on the planet, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I think the problem with religion is that everyone, they teach people to believe what they believe, and you know, two people from the same religion may believe two totally different things. So I think it's in the way organized beliefs
Yeah.
and letting, I mean, we need to be artists
Exactly
of our,
right. I mean, yeah, like this, the spiritual side of existence is a kind of personal art. It's how you choose to express yourself in this space. Not don't accept the dogma of any particular branch because it's always going to be prohibitive. You know, it's never going to allow you to be your own author in your life. Um, and that's also was interesting about your pointing to early fiction or fiction as
yeah.
a gateway to other universes. That was my path as well. My imagination was the initial kindling of this whole thing, and I used to devour novels looking for that space to exist in where the magic was real, you know, temporarily. And I feel like I've
Yeah.
kind of crossed into a place in my life where the magic is suddenly manifesting all around, and it's not just limited to the pages of a book. And I love that about the whole experience.
Right. What was that? I mean, I don't mean to turn the table, but can you just share a magic moment for you recently that you can, so I can
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
that?
Okay, so for instance, I recently got laid off from my job as a reporter because of Doge. The Department of Government Efficiency cut PBS funding. I was a PBS reporter, so my job went bye-bye.
Hmm.
And I've been looking for work. I thought I had a couple of opportunities, but then they didn't want to pay me as much as they'd promised, so I passed up on those pridefully. And then I got a opportunity to do something that I've never done before, working in an agricultural setting, and I was really had a lot of reservations about it because it's much more physical work than I'm used to. It's kind of a different kind of vibe, and I was worried about it. And But I went to bed the night before I was supposed to show up, had a really sort of hopeful dream that sort of encouraged me. And then when I got to the place where I was supposed to work for the day, I pick up my phone and there's this Reddit post right at the top that is just this random screenshot that says basically like you need to embrace new opportunities and try things that unsettle you so that you can achieve growth. And I felt like the universe was talking to me. And that's a very subtle kind of thing. But previously, I wouldn't have even entertained the idea that I'm in some sort of like communicative relationship with, the universe.
Yeah,
But I absolutely felt like it was a pat on the back and a little, encouraging shove. And I went on to
yeah.
have a fantastic time doing the work. So it was like, yeah, I don't know,
No,
that
I'm
kind of
glad you
thing.
shared that because I think that in a way gets us to the UFO situation because we're being confronted by a synchronicity of awareness that doesn't make sense. It's sort of magic. I've seen not a lot of UFO, but I've seen a bunch of stuff in the sky that
Hmm.
makes no sense at all. And it just shows you the magic is still here. The unknown is still um it's still all around us. And
Yeah,
in a time of AI and internet and all that, we're being made aware of something more than mechanistic, man-made technology. So
yeah, yeah,
I think I think there's a doorway opening in that direction. Like, what's going on here?
yeah.
You know?
I often see it almost as a kind of bifurcation, like there's two choices ahead of us where one is we can potentially get lost in the sea of technology and easy sort of mindless living where entertainment is all that matters, or there's another way that's just now saying, hey, wait, like don't, come back over here because there's a lot to be gained from engagement with the Earth, for example, or the universe, or our own being that isn't necessarily going to get piped into a fiber optic cable, but it is the genuine experience. And I entertain, often sort of the spiritual language of that with like the Gnostic idea of archons, like we have this thing coming up that's amassing itself. It seems almost like an intelligence with the AI and energy behind it, and it's almost like a false universe versus one that's real. And we're getting more and more distracted by this false thing, and it
Yeah.
worries me.
It's false, but I have to say they probably said this. They said the same thing about television. They
Sure.
said the same
Yeah.
thing about the internet. They said I'm sure the same thing about radio. Actually, Plato said the same thing about writing. He said, "Oh, if you write something down, you lose your thought, your memory default." And so, human
Mhm.
technologies, has always been a double-edged sword. And I
Yeah.
like what Thomas Jefferson said: the price of liberty is constant vigilance. So, are you going to be caught up? I mean, I can get caught up in scrolling on my phone for an hour, and I say, "What did I just look at?" I mean, it's like it's seductive and enticing and like stimulating, but then it's empty. It's like so. I mean, yeah, it was fascinating. This whatever it was, it's just insane. Though it's like it's mindless chatter, and I really enjoy my own thoughts when I'm writing something. I'm able to like let new ideas come into my head that's not being provoked by someone else's like little TikTok thing or whatever. But I'm when I'm creative, being creative, I am open up to another flow
Mhm.
that is in a way unpredictable. I
Yeah.
like, Whitley talks about the little thing in his ear that helped, a little implant that, and I think everyone has something like, may not be as physical as Whitley's, but it's we are opened up to what the Aborigines call dream time. Like, I actually went
Yeah.
to Australia and studied with the Aborigines, who are just
Wow.
fantastic people there, and they are the oldest continuous civilization on the planet, 60,000 years of walking about. And just a little side note, the reason they've survived, according to Robert Lawler, who wrote the book about them called The Voices of the First Day, he said they never developed agriculture. I know you said you're working in agriculture environment, but they would never like plant things and farm them and like build warehouses and hierarchy. They all lived in small groups that would walk about, and when one place was done, they'd come back the net following year and just back. They do a little walkabouts about, and they lived in small groups, but they developed an incredible spiritual kind of foundation
Yeah.
because they would start to see into the other world. And dream time, in a sense, is their religion. And they explained it to me. They kind of initiated me into dream time. It's like, and everyone does it. It's like you watch yourself fall asleep. And if you can watch the mind disconnect from its internal thoughts and you still are getting images, it's like
Yeah.
you don't know where those images are coming from. That's dream time. You've entered the dream time. If you can be the observer enough, not just of your own thoughts, but of the new information that's coming into your consciousness from who knows where, maybe like someone next door to you is having, sometimes you hear voices, sometimes you think, if you don't react to it, if you just observe it, you are in the dream time. And actually, that is actually really healing energy for the body. And you are transcending, and you're in touch with the mystery at that point, I think. So
That is
that's,
so huge for me. I mean, I
yeah,
got goosebumps a little bit just because that has been such a huge part of my experience lately. Is in meditation, I get to a place where I felt like, and we had Patrick Harper on recently, and we talked a little
oh,
bit
I
about it
love
on
him.
that show.
Love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and he talks about the daimonic, and also at some point we discussed getting in contact with your higher self. But I've had the experience of meditating where there are images and whole sentences and ideas that well up that aren't associated with my biography. Like they're not talking about my life, but they're full and complete
Exactly.
things that emerge from my consciousness. And sometimes it's not relevant, sometimes it is, but it's always this kind of profound meeting that happens deep down. And that has been huge for me. That's probably the most spiritual experiences I've had over the past couple of years are these moments where this happens. And I feel like it's coming into contact, like I said, with a daimonic element, or like you're saying, dream time. It does feel profoundly connective. And
Yeah.
it's a little bit of that sparkling magic that comes in that energizes the whole trip. It's like if I have those experiences, then I know something is going on that is not just me making something up or wishful thinking. There's actual semantic content that's being generated that I have nothing to do with. You know?
That really is. It's the quantum field, I call it. I teach a lot of remote viewing. I just taught 200 people on the Shift Network. It was just
Wow.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
people tap into this other level and they're able to see something that is not local to their consciousness. Their mind is non-local. So it's like I describe it, there's the left brain, which is your thinking mind that knows what it knows. And then there's the right brain, which is tapped into the dream time, that's always in the flow of forever. It's
Hmm.
that it's always present. It's never in the past or the future. This is how I understand it. And when people remote view, they're getting the information flow into that right brain, and then the left brain has to interpret it. That's usually where it goes wrong. But if we stay open to the dream time, as I call it, you could remote view anything. You could tune into anybody, anywhere. You just put your intent. This is how I teach the course. You set
Yeah.
your GPS to what is the target, whatever that may be, and you don't know what it is, but it's a location or a number. You sometimes you get a number, and all you have to do is set your intent there, and you sit back, and your right brain gets the signal from the quantum field, and things are known, and you can know what is not local to your reality. And this is how the mystics did it. We're all learning to become mystics. So
Yeah.
that's so rewarding when people can actually use their hardware to tap into the mystery and get answers.
Yeah.
So when I do it, what I do in remote viewing, like once you get the basics, we go off planet. We go to other star system. I mean, with our mind, our imagination, whatever you want to call that.
Mhm.
And if people get the same sort of images and messages and see the similar beings, maybe we're all in the same place at the same time. So um, it's kind of like the miracle of who we are as human beings, that we have this divine infinite aspect that we can tap into. And no one's ever told us that. I mean,
Yeah.
in education, schools, religions, media, no one ever told us that we are infinite.
Yeah.
I call remote. Someone actually said this to me, but I'm going to take the line. Someone says remote viewing is a gateway drug to your divinity. So,
Yeah. That's,
right? Because
yeah.
it's like being infinite, divine, that we can actually. My understanding of this is how that it makes sense that we could do this. I mean, how else can we know what's not available to our five senses?
Yeah, we're somehow connected to whatever I mean, that old mystical idea that we're all sort of fragments of a whole
Right.
divine mind, that we're all encapsulated, have lost memory of what that belongingness felt like, but we all have access to parts of it, and it seems to come through, especially when we quiet the ego. That's when it
Yeah.
seems like it manifests the most. So where do you see UFOs and this stuff intersecting? I mean, how did you
Well,
go from, yeah,
no, thank you, because that is a kind of almost a leap, but I spent not a lot of time with John Mack. You know who John Mack was?
absolutely. In fact, I do a lot of work with Karen Austin
Oh,
and the
Carl
John
at
Mack,
the
yeah,
at
John
the
Mack Institute.
Archives of the Impossible, right?
Yep, that too. Yep, both.
I
Yeah,
was just hanging out with Jeffrey Kreipel yesterday. Like
yeah,
hanging out with John Mack. One of my favorite sayings of John's was UFOs are like an outreach program from the cosmos for the consciously impaired.
yeah,
That's us. We are the consciously impaired because we don't even know who we are. We don't even know what we're capable of. I mean, for most part, maybe if you start to do some meditation or remote viewing or
mhm,
creative act, you start to realize you're connected to this infinite realm. But whatever's happening here, and I talked to Jeffrey Kreibel about, no one knows what's happening here. There's something here for sure. And I'm pretty sure Whitley had a really definitive experience.
mhm,
And I've had an experience. If you read chapter 7 in this book, I talk about my own personal contact, but I've seen things, strange things my whole life, like little faces at the window, and I just felt like there was more to the surface reality. Going back to my original story of searching for answers, I felt like, yeah, there's the material world, but what is it really all for? And of course, Jung said UFOs remind us of the mystery. That might be true, but or they're an archetype of that. But I think there really is something here at this point, because it's just my opinion. The vibrational aspect of this 3D world is shifting. We're moving into a higher vibration. This is just, I mean, it sounds like a dogma or religious thing, but I think that's possible. I don't believe it. I guess that might be. It makes sense. I mean, I have feeling, I have, vibrational frequencies that I tune into sometimes. So I think these beings, whoever they are, multidimensional, interdimensional, fairies, elves, whatever, they are from this other dimensional reality. And this world, when we open our minds to something else, is starting to interface with the mystic, with the occult, with the higher frequencies. And these beings are here to wake us up out of the 3D reality because of this infinite nature that we are. They are they're noticing they're here. I mean, people are having lots of experiences, but it's a kind of personal thing. It's not like it's showing up on the White House lawn or whatever people had predicted. It is like it's a people's movement. I was just with Danny Sheehan,
Yeah, yeah.
who's leading a people's movement, the lawyer, UFO lawyer.
New
And it,
Paradigm Institute.
yeah, Paradigm Institute, right. So all this stuff about consciousness, awareness, 3D, mysticism, it's directly related to this next level of reality that seem to be showing up like healing. Healing is a vibrational, like you were saying, it's a vibrational sort of aspect of who we are. The vibration is key. And, you resonate with people at your similar wavelength, similar things attract. It's not like opposites attract. That might be true, but guitar strings, you strum one here, the one on the other side of the room vibrates because
Yeah.
they're so frequencies seem to be a new language for understanding. And I think it's like we can call it the Aquarian age, whatever that means, but it's a time of new realities. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. It's interesting, having gone into the rabbit hole of all this stuff, I did some research into like Hermetic thinking and Gnostic thinking, and
Right.
like the Kybalion is a book that was written by three initiates, and they have these like 10, I think it's 10, some finite
Seven.
number of seven.
Seven.
Seven. Okay, yeah.
Seven
But the
laws.
principles, right? Yeah, the laws. And one of them is everything is always vibrating all the time. And but a lot of the things that we come up with and we're talking about in these discussions all goes back to those same truths that were, talked about so long ago that it's like forgotten wisdom. And we all kind of need to just re-embrace the idea that there is truth in ancient mysteries, and they knew a hell of a lot more than we give them credit for. And it's not all the wisdom of the world's not to be found in the future. There's some that's obviously buried in the past.
Well, that's a good point. But also, what's buried in the past is that we've taught the Western materialistic concrete paradigm. That's all it is. Life is an accident of chemical composition, and it's meaningless. And there is no future. It's like what Woody Allen says: every 100 years, someone flushes the toilet and everything's gone. But that's not true for me, because there is meaning in life. There is um, conscious awareness. There is telepathy. Have you heard the telepathy tapes?
Yes, in fact, I've interviewed Kai Dickinson on the show.
Oh, great. Well, you're doing some
Or Kai
great stuff.
Dickens. Yeah.
I just interviewed Diane Powell, the
Yeah, I
original.
had her on as well too. But yeah,
She's
she's
great.
fantastic. Yeah, absolutely
So,
trailblazing.
right, trailblazing. So, this is true. I just interviewed one of the telepathy kids,
Oh wow, yeah.
who that was fantastic. Sitting next to this guy, Alex, is like sitting next to like a broadcast station with all these different frequencies coming into him. And the whole time he's looking at his phone, and while he's typing or spelling these things out on the spelling board, but you could just feel how massive that consciousness was. And
Yeah.
he's not functional in a normal way, but you know, he says at one point in the interview, I asked him some question. He goes, I said, like, who are you? Where are you from? He goes, I am an old sentient being and his mother's holding the board and go, what? How do you even know that word? So there's miracles of consciousness that we're moving into, and Diane's work and the telepathy kids and what Chris Blutso is doing and what you're doing and what Whitley's doing, what I'm trying to do. This is a revolution in consciousness because we're understanding who we are. Remote viewing is a great way on a different level. So we're increasing, I think, the vibrational field beyond just the 3D matter material world, and realizing like quantum physics is like maybe we're all entangled, maybe we're all in superposition, maybe we're all like collapsing or not collapsing the wave function. I did a talk at Contact in the Desert about how when we don't collapse the wave function, we access the quantum field and we could materialize anywhere we want when we don't concretize the world in 3D,
Mhm.
when we live in the abstract, when we
Yeah.
live in the symbolic. You know the difference between signs and symbols? The signs mean what it is. The symbol gives you an abstract awareness of the thing. The symbol can't be defined, but the
Mhm.
sign can. It's like a sign is like a stop sign. That's concrete. But if you put that stop sign in a pool of polluted water, it's not just a sign, it becomes a symbol. And we're moving into this age of abstraction where symbols are more meaningful than signs,
Yeah.
because symbols take us into a wider spectrum of conscious awareness. Like that's why an emoji makes maybe a better response than like a yes. If you give someone like a thumbs up, it's not just a yes, it means right on, with you, together. You just say yes. So we're moving into the abstraction and the abstraction of thought. And by doing so, we're not collapsing the wave function into concretizing the world into a thing, but we're living in the wave, not the particle of vibratory awareness, or something like that.
I love that. That is absolutely fantastic. It's kind of
Yeah,
a poetic reality, you know what I mean? Like it's like the metaphor is everything, you know?
you're right. You're right. We are all poets. You're right. And we are not educated to be poets. We're not educated to
Mm-mm.
be creators, but we're all creators. We are
Mhm.
all manifesting the art of being, like we said before. We're just putting on your clothing. You are the artist. Like, okay, how am I going to look today? What am I putting out there? What am I projection out there? It's like that when we all learn to be artists in this world and value our creation, then we go into what I call the flowering of humanity. Then
Yeah,
we realize the purpose of incarnation, which
yeah,
is what I'm looking for. And I think I can't say I discovered, but what makes sense is that we are here to emulate creation as creators. Like
mhm.
this is your creation, these podcasts, and you are the artists of that. And in your creativity, you're giving people an opportunity to feel more of their creativity. So
Yeah,
this is this is this just makes sense to me, you know.
yeah. I think that's absolutely beautiful, and I think that like you can see how society flourishes when there is a diversity of when people are allowed to express themselves as they feel the need rather than being controlled and pushed into a certain kind of way of being, which is always toxic, I think.
That's exactly right. I mean, E. Cummings said either you're an artist or you end up working for someone who is, but we're all here to be artists in whatever form. It could be the way you walk down the street, the way you tell a story. I mean, artistry is the creative impulse manifesting through us from this collective unknown, the dream time, as it manifests into our uniqueness. You're absolutely right. The unique quality of each human being contributes to the incredible diversity of the human experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
that's
I mean, like with that whole idea, the Hermetic idea that we're all, sort of filaments of this Godhead, um, we're all sort of charged with experiencing the world in our own way, so that the this awareness can understand everything about us and the universe itself, and so we're supposed to engage and have those adventures.
Yeah, and your uniqueness adds to me. I mean, I'm not unique in the way you are. We may be similar, but your individual take, I learn, and that's why I love talking to people, interviewing. I learn from their unique vision, adds to my awareness. It increases me. It expands who I am.
Yeah.
And that's in a way the fascination with the UFO field, because there are really no answers there. You were going to ask me about that. No one knows what's going on. My favorite quote about UFOs, it wasn't originally applied to UFOs, it was what someone said about Einstein's theory. This, what was his name? Uh, I forgot. A scientist said, something unknown is doing we don't know what.
Mhm.
That's how I would describe the UFO field. Something unknown is doing something, for sure
Yeah.
is there doing something we don't know. It looks like craft or abductions, or, but the mind behind that phenomena, the intelligence, whatever it is beyond, at this point, our capacity to know, because we're still trying to figure out left brain, Actually, one of the most amazing experiences I had recently was up at that place in Humboldt where, you know, Rachel showed me a beehive and showed me all the different workers in the beehive, the drones and the food gathering, the queen. And it's like, that's an intelligence.
Yeah.
That is a quantum intelligence that we don't even understand how that can work. How do all those little individual bees know what to do? That's the mystery right there.
Yeah.
So that was quite an education. So we're involved. We're not like bees, but we're in individual um awarenesses of the mystery. And now this bigger mystery is here to take us to the next level, because in a way, there are no new stories in the human dimension. You know, how many times you're going to watch the same Hollywood love story or shoot 'em up story? Or, I mean, the human drama is now at a threshold point where these new realities, like I call my show, are coming into play, where we get to experience more of creation.
Hmm.
This is the threshold we're at, I think, with the UFO phenomena. They
Yeah.
are the caretakers, bringing us over the threshold into a new something completely, now for something completely different. It's like, okay, how do these beings think? How do their technologies work? What do we need to what resource do we need to find in ourselves in order to understand this infinite mind that's interacting with us, and it's pushing us to be more human, but to be more multidimensional, to be more intelligent, to tune into frequencies and vibrations. You ever do a CE5? It's all about getting the group into a vibration. So suddenly you see stuff in the sky. I mean, this is why Chris Bledsoe is so amazing, because he is living at that vibration. I've hung out with
Yeah.
Chris. He is like,
Yeah.
he's like a UFO saint. I mean, he's vibrating at a high, and they just appear to him because he's kind of a pure being. He puts out that frequency, and it's great to just hang out with him, because like he's living at that realm.
Yeah.
And so we are being challenged to get over, like, what Stanton Friedman, who knew Stanton Friedman was, he was
Oh
an
yeah.
old time.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
says, no one wants to be friends with a bunch of monkeys whose favorite pastime is tribal warfare. That's us. We're a bunch of monkeys. Jeffrey Kripal said, I think he said yesterday, we're a bunch of monkeys juggling chainsaws. So,
Yeah.
but, so we're coming to a place, maybe, if we can, go beyond war, limitation, aggression, whatever it is, and reach a new place collectively in the field. Because if there's war somewhere, there's war in all of us. So we have to raise that, and then only then I think will we really have a kind of open contact where they won't just be coming and going, and maybe they'll take someone, abduct someone there, or this or that, but we'll come into this global understanding that we're part of a cosmos, a collective awareness where we can come to the next level of our own evolution, really.
Yeah. It's
What I
interesting. There's Ken Wilber. Are you familiar with
Yeah,
Ken
I have
Wilber's
it. Yeah.
work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah, his transpersonal psychology and
the four
one of the things
quadrants.
that yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. And interiors and exteriors and all of that. But one of the things he talks about is holons and how you have um, a bunch of things that start off as separate, but then they work cooperatively and they eventually become sort of interiorized by another level as you move up the evolutionary scale. And often I wonder if we are on the threshold of that kind of shift where the walls break down between the individual beings and a sort of super intelligence will form from the consciousness of the participant, humans or whatever other kinds of cosmic intelligences there might be. Like, I feel like that evolutionary step might be the recognition that we're all connected and some sort of propagation of this new intelligence that personifies all of us together. It's kind of a
No,
far out
that's what
thought, but I love it.
no, it's not far out because when I interviewed Bruce Lipton, you know who Bruce Lipton is?
No, I don't.
Biologist, the epigenetics. He's a
Okay.
brilliant biologist, and I had sort of discovered him because I read something he wrote about the new biology was not Darwinian. Darwinian talks about chance mutation and accidental shifting, and obviously that doesn't seem like evolution works that way.
Yeah,
And
it seems more directed, teleological almost.
it is teleological, and this was what the guy who came before Darwin said, John Baptiste Lamarck. He says things evolve because they intended, like the giraffe grows a longer neck because of intention, not because of some stray chance mutation gene. So when I heard that, and he put together a kind of exactly a teleological um, understanding of the epigenetics, how genes can change from one generation to the next because of intention. You could change your genetics.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not a victim of your genetics, he says. But
Hmm.
he says, we're all like each part of the cell, the nucleus and the ribosomes and we're all separate pieces until they came together and incorporate into what we call a holon, right?
Hmm.
Oh, each human being, he says in this interview I did, we're all separate. We all think we're separate beings. We all think, oh, there's you, James. There's me. And we're separate. But if you ever been in like a group, any kind of group connection, you feel everyone else. You get the group consciousness. So
Hmm.
the thing that humans have to do is come together, realize this is Bruce Lipton saying, we're all part of the same living organism sharing a consciousness because we're really all one consciousness. And when we come together and realize that we're all connected, then we create humanity. We are not humans until we create humanity. And when we create humanity, that is the earth itself coming into the realization of its evolution. We're like the receptor sites on the earth, bringing in the new information and all that and
Yeah.
modifying, sometimes good, sometimes bad. So when the earth realizes that, it is a super organism with humans being the conscious receptors of that,
Yes.
then that is the super organism. Then we speak with a oneness.
Hmm.
And then Bruce Lipton said, when we are one unified being, then other civilizations with their oneness comes and intersects with us to form the next level of superorganism or the next level of the greater holon, whatever you want to call it. So that's where we're going. We're
Love it.
realizing we're connected, me and you and everyone watching. How could we not be? Because we're all here, at least
Yeah.
on this podcast. And So if we're listening to the same words, we're sharing the same vibration. So we're all connected, and everyone on this planet is connected. It just made sense to me. We have to achieve that. I mean, but at least to know that we are part of this superorganism that's stretching to form the next level of Holon awareness,
Yeah,
but we're in the process now.
yeah.
And ETs, whatever these things, I don't know if they are even, but they're helping us because they're pressing us out of the old stasis and giving us a new story to bring creative awareness to. So that's
Now the question is, do you think that they are only helping us? Or could there
uh
be interests that are, I mean, like if they stop the development, arrest the development of us into a unified planetary being, because they want to extract something, is that possible, or is that kind of a scare tactic, fear mongering that people get caught up
well,
in?
let's just first the part. Are they is it one entities, one group of beings coming together, or are there more than one? And so are
Exactly.
some of them good, some of them bad? Well, from the human level, let's look at it in terms of nature. If you look at nature, you can say, oh, nature is one thing, but you can get a bee to sting you, or you could smell a rose that smells sweet. So nature itself has those elements to it, but it's nature, it's nature. So
Yeah.
on on this other level, we're dealing with a supernatural, or of course supernature. So, is it good or bad? Well, people like Jeffrey Kripal say it's reflective. If the government wants to make weapons and they're shooting down these things, the phenomena is going to react to that, and they're not going to have a pleasant experience. If someone's meditating and in a higher vibration and they see some being come down, they're not likely to have a really traumatic abduction.
Yeah.
But a lot of abductees, if you look at Ray Hernandez's work, say, it may start out, even Whitley, he had probably one of the most horrific abductions, if you read Communion. And
Mm-hmm.
then, and I asked him, he went back out into the woods, after being, what he says, raped and all abused. And I said, Whitley, why did you go back out there? He said, because I wanted to make something like, I wanted to make peace with it. I wanted to deal with it. I wanted to be, okay. I want to integrate it. And, I have to say, he's one of the best communicators on the subject there is, because he understands probably more about it than anyone else, even though he's had such a hard time. So maybe they're here for their own evolution, the taking genetics. I mean, I personally don't mind being the father of an alien race if they want my genetics.
Right? Yeah, yeah. No skin off my
But,
back.
well, a little skin off your back,
Maybe,
but
yeah.
yeah, they actually took skin off your back. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I think it's so fascinating that I think, yeah, there are probably some beings that are probably stuff. There's probably people you don't want to meet. I think that we have more to fear from fellow human beings than beings from other vibratory fields. Yeah, there is the reptilians, there's the insectoids, but my experience, I can only speak for me, and there are archons trying to control the forces. There's definitely archonic energies but I think they're more to do with governments and religions than
Yeah.
beings. So I think it's fascinating
Mhm.
that there are consciousnesses that I don't understand, that I'm sort of interacting with, so they can bring my awareness to something more and show me more of reality. It's like, yeah, maybe there's good, maybe there's bad, maybe there's ugly, but I don't get caught up in the internal politics. And yeah, there's definitely beings you probably want to avoid, but I think it's really a great trip we're on at this stage in the 21st century, exploring the unknown, what I say, making known the unknown, which is what this channel, who I saw back then, said. You're here to make known the unknown, which like goes back to that thing we're saying, be the artist of your creation. Then
Yeah.
you bring something that's never been known into an awareness that other people can learn from. So if something else can feed my awareness that I've yet to um, cognize, then that expands my neural net of perception. You know the
Mhm.
differentiation between cognition and recognition.
Maybe not technically, but I mean,
Well, recognition means to recognize,
mhm.
recognize,
Yeah,
but you have to cognize something to begin with. So,
yeah.
how do you cognize anything? How do you know what anything is, basically? Because someone shows you a picture, let's say, of a horse, and you learn the patterns, and then suddenly you see a horse and you can recognize the patterns, but you had to have learned
Oh, yeah. Okay.
the cognitive awareness of what that thing is in order to recognize it. So
Which can
recognition,
explain a lot about sightings, honestly. Like if you
exactly.
don't have the imprint, you can't even see it, right? I mean,
Exactly. So,
yeah,
but only the sightings, it's the whole vibrational field of the other. We can call the other. So they are intersecting with us, I think, who knows, on a vibratory level, but it's like passing right through us. It's like the gorilla in the room. Do you ever see that video where they're passing by and you don't see it because
yeah, the
no
basketball and the yeah.
yeah, you're not taught to recognize. No one told you to focus. So there's probably beings, orbs of light, that are right here, but because we've never been taught to cognize it, we don't recognize what's all around us. But I do think once we learn the higher dimensional fields of awareness, we start to recognize what's really here. Like I just interviewed a woman who can see through her blindfold. She really can. This
Hmm.
is her name, Dahlia. She was at the Psy Games and she puts on these blindfolds and you can hold up a picture or you can look at a page and she can read what's on the page blindfold. It is mind blowing. I first met her at Contact in the Desert, actually. It's like she calls it mind sight.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to know how to do that. And she is incredible, I have to say. She will blow. I want Whitley to meet her. She'll blow people away. But
Yeah.
I said I want to learn. So I put on these blindfolds and I started to notice things that I was seeing with another level of seeing. It's like, but I didn't know it exists because no one told me I had that cognition. So when I realized that I had that cognitive abilities, I started to not as good as she does. I started to see beyond the blindfolds. I saw her teach 5-year-old kids how to pick out triangles, shapes, squares, circles, and colors blindfolded. I saw that at the Psy Games, and
Wow.
it's like so. I was starting to get a sense of, and she's really practiced, this woman, but so that for me was a new cognition that I'm
Hmm.
still learning to recognize as it shows up. But that's what it's all about. The ETs, whatever and whoever they are teaching, I believe, to cognize another level of reality. And we can go into fears about are they good or bad, but what are they teaching us about the nature of reality that
Yeah.
we need to learn as a collective human species so we can form the next level of superorganism.
Yeah.
That's what I have to
I
say.
what's beautiful about this whole approach where you view where we look at humanity as a collective that's
Yeah.
maybe evolving toward a collective kind of awareness is that it doesn't even require a metaphysical leap. Like if you just think about the planet as a being because it is a being. I mean, it's like a cell. It's got a cell wall and the atmosphere, and we are
Right.
parts of that. We need to recognize that we are intrinsically a part of this bigger organism. And
Right.
if we do that, then all of a sudden we begin to behave in a more responsible way toward the environment,
Right.
toward each other, because you don't want to be the cancerous cell in the body, and so you begin to behave better. And it seems like it's the answer to so many of the problems we're currently facing as a planet and a
Well, not
species.
only are we a part of this thing, you there, right there, James, you particularly, and everyone listening, is living inside the earth. This is the earth. This body is of earth. This is the
Exactly,
earth,
exactly.
and we're living inside of it.
Hmm.
Whoever we are, we're inside the earth. So we want to nurture the body, the earth, and what feeds the body of the earth, what earth parts feed each other. Yeah, because you're right, it's an intelligence, the earth, that can breathe with the atmospheres, have a drinks with the water. I mean, it grows with the tree. I mean, it is such an intricate thing that they tried to do a biosphere too, never worked because it just is so infinite. And we're being fed by cosmic radiations too. I think
Yeah.
actually that's my theory of evolution, how things evolve from a chicken to the egg, is that you know there are moments of huge cosmic influxes which instantly change the DNA into intentional movements of more complexity, let's say that.
Yeah.
And so we're about, I some people say there's like solar flares coming, whatever, but I think we are moving into a new level of complexity that will make us more evolved being. I think this is why these autistic kids are so out there, but so brilliant, because they are actually functioning at another level of complexity, and we want them to fit into our old limited structures. But they are already at this, at least being with them, it's like, oh my God, what are they thinking? I tried to ask Diane, how are they, what is their mind like? But she didn't know. She can answer me, Diane Powell. She
Yeah.
said, well, I mean, she's closer probably than anyone to understanding that, but it's like that's the next. So we're witnessing our evolution right there. We need to give these autistic kids a little bit more grounding what we have, but they are here to teach us the next level of quantum mental complexity. So that's our doorway into evolution. And maybe it's happening for whatever reason, but whatever it is, these beings are here, and they're our teachers. So
I wanted to ask you about disclosure because it's a part of the conversation that always comes up. And given your view on what all this is and what it's pointing toward, do you think that's a wasted conversation, or is it something that we should actively agitate towards? Can we ever trust the government to come forward with true information, given all the manipulation that's happened in the past?
well, I think it's something we do have to put attention to, because it's only going to really seep into the populace that something's going on when the government says, guess what, kids, we have company. But, we can't trust the government, but we can look at the ways we're not trusting the government, because they will say something and then they'll contradict it. And so their thing is to hold on to the secrets. And I think it's all about money. Who cares about ETs? Who cares about other beings? It's like, how are we going to make money off this technology? And how are we going to protect what we own? And it's like, the governments, or the Pentagon at least, because Congress doesn't even know what's happening. Because I was just at the last congressional hearing
I
that
saw that
happened
online. Yeah,
September
that's
9th.
that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun,
I
because
bet.
that was the first time you heard publicly from experiences within the military talking to Congress. The first time you heard publicly experiencers sharing what happened to them. That was epic. I mean, I think the David Grush hearing was really, really a kind of opening. But so I think we need to push for disclosure for people who need to know, because then it kind of cements it in. Okay, what, the government's not lying, or was hiding the truth, it was lying, and now they're not. I mean, we don't know, but I do think it's a fata complete. It's already been done. We already have disclosure. I mean, you look just a little bit on the internet. So what they're trying to do is really show I think it was Maya Angelou. It says people will show you who they really are. The government's showing us they're showing us that they, in a way, can't be trusted to tell the truth, that
Yeah.
they are fabricating, they're holding on to power, they don't trust the public. So, that's all great because they're showing their hand, but it's, as Danny Sheehan says, this is a people's movement. And if enough people stand up and say, yeah, I've had an experience and I've had an experience, it's like you can't get people denying it anymore. And then other people come forward and say, oh, I had this weird experience. It's like it becomes the snowball effect, but it becomes a kind of collective awareness where the new paradigms of experience start to come online and your experience becomes validated. So, what makes a new level of creative interaction on the human level are new human experiences. And by acknowledging the phenomena and interacting it with it in a legitimate way, we validate our own experiences. Otherwise, we feel like outsiders, which is okay. We need outsiders, but to bring the collective to a new place of what we're calling the superorganism, I think it's not needed disclosure, but it's a fun pursuit to
Yeah.
see how people in charge get themselves in trouble by keeping a secret, and there's no secret anymore. So it's like it's kind of silly to say, oh, we're not telling you what's going on, when I mean we have great people coming forward, saying, well, Lou Elizondo, he's okay. He has his moments there. But Lockheed Martin, they are having the technology. They have technology of reverse engineering. There's, what's his name? Richard Sheck, I think he talks about all these crash retrievals. He's a good guy to interview. He's probably the best crash retrieval guy. And some of them are man-made constructions, reverse engineered. But
Yeah.
so the more I'm excited that people are talking about this publicly, you get Luna from Florida, Representative Paulina Luna, saying, well, this witness said there was an interdimensional being there. They're talking about interdimensionality in Congress. So it's filtering into the mainstream. So there's a kind of subtle education of awareness of things that will up level the collective public, even if they never come out, which I think they will eventually. But the more the conversation happens, it's worth pursuing because it adds to the fun of the human experience. It's all
Yeah.
about having fun, James. Really, it
Yeah.
really is. I
And that's a
mean,
beautiful place to end the conversation, man.
oh, are we ending our conversation? That's
Yeah,
okay.
we got hour and 15, but
All right.
thank you so
No.
much
I
for a
enjoy
wonderful
talking to you.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're informed enough to know to be on the same, like, vibe, at the same, you're not just asking, but you're coming from a place of awareness, so we can go and have like, and I am not saying I'm right about anything.
Yeah.
I'm only know what I think I know. And but something really fascinating is happening on planet Earth, and the UFO phenomenon, whatever that is, something I don't know is doing, I don't know what, is a part of the new story that is adding to our creative, experiential incarnation
Yeah.
on this plane of existence.
Yeah. We're
That'll
sinking
end.
together, and that's the beautiful compact between all the folks who are into this stuff. Uh,
Yeah.